Okay, hi. So this was a game I played in the latest ESOC tournament in the round of 16. It's an India versus British matchup, and I'm playing against H2O. Unfortunately for me, he did win the series, but we played a couple of close games, and this was one of the more interesting games. So I thought I'd commentate a little bit over the replay to provide some extra insight into what's going on, hopefully give some advice and useful tips about playing as the Indians, and maybe highlight some of the mistakes I made too, as this was by no means anywhere close to being a perfect game. So before getting into any kind of strategies and the specific map, you should be aware how to manage your crate start as India. India is often one of the slowest civilizations to reach the colonial age, so any villager time wasted early on is kind of a big deal. So what I normally do is put 3 villagers on the trees right away, and then click the remaining 3 villagers each to a different wood crate. You can then pick up the remaining 3 crates in your own time, ideally just using 1 villager though, so you don't waste any extra time over gathering on a crate. And of course, leave the coin crates well alone, as they are in no way useful to you in the discovery age. So this was nice. I saw him working away at this treasure earlier and move in to attempt the steal, which does indeed prove successful, netting me an extra 90 food. If you were paying attention, you'd have noticed also I zoomed in a little there in that moment, and that's just to avoid any potential misclicks which can happen often in those scenarios. This game is being played on ESOC Indonesia, which is predominantly a heavy water map, which you'll see kind of come into play later on. But another feature of this map though is the starting hunt, which is actually 2 elephants, they've got a huge chunk of food, but they're not the easiest to herd. They seem fairly stubborn for whatever reason. But I spend a bit of time early on working at getting a kill right next to my town centre, which hopefully you'll see in just a second. But yeah, there you go. But that's just to minimise any time villagers have to waste walking between resources. And this is all just to improve my age up time, as the age up time is crucial to most Indian games. Here you can see me sending the villager out ready to build my agri fort. My plan for this game was to do an economy-based sepoy push, so it's a teensy bit slower than the traditional 10-10 all-in, but you get a really nice economy to fall back on should the sepoy push not get much damage done. Whereas kind of with the 10-10 sepoy push, if you don't inflict severe damage, you're going to be in big trouble. My first shipment has almost arrived, which is the small trickle of wood. Ooh, and as you can see here, his explorer comes in, and I'm in no mood to get my agri block, so I move my villager out of his explorer's line of sight before shift clicking it back in, which is just going to give me a better shot at placing the agri fort down, as I'm particularly concerned on this map, as the main island which we're fighting on is just covered in so many trees, cliffs, and lots of choke points that make it hard to find anywhere at all really to put the fort down. Luckily, the fort does go down without any major issues. It's not really in a great place. Ideally, I want it to put it a bit closer to him and use it to secure another hunt and mine, but on this map I'll take what I can get really. So, as soon as I'm aging, I send all my villagers to collect wood, as I want to start getting the market techs rolling in to form the strong economy behind my aggression that is soon to come. Yeah, so there you can see the market going down right away, and I do put 1 villager back on food actually, and that's because the first market technology that I want to get is civil servants, and that's the one that increases the gather rate from all resources actually by 5%, and that costs 50 food, 50 wood and 50 coin, and I didn't have the 50 food at the time, so made sure that just to make sure that I was going to have enough. It's actually quite a slow market technology to research. The food and coin upgrades research considerably faster. But the reason why I choose to get this one first is that most of my villages are still on wood for the moment, and I've only except just 1 or 2 on food, and so I only really need the food and coin upgrades when I want to transition my villages over to food and coin, which will happen shortly, but for the moment they're still mostly on the wood. I've kind of got my elephants chilling over there for 2 reasons. One, I kind of want to heal them up before I charge in, And 2, they're hiding just below that coin treasure, just in anticipation of maybe if he goes for it I can steal it, so it's kind of just a good place to sit and heal up. Anyways, now that I've got the market text that I want, I've transitioned over a lot more villages to food, as now I'm looking to try and get up the resources to try and pump out 5 sepoys along with the 5 sepoy shipment to hopefully get out 12 sepoys, which I can use to put on some big aggression. So, as soon as I hit the colonial age, there's 2 things I kind of want to mention. The first, you might have just seen a glimpse of it there. 2 of my sepoys, this has never happened to me before, they got stuck in my starting hunt. And yeah, this is kind of a really bad time for this kind of bug to rear its head, because I never had it before. The second thing that I wanted to mention is a little trick you can do to kind of time your sepoy rush a little bit better. So the first thing I did as soon as I hit the colonial age was send my shipment first, because the shipment of 5 sepoys actually takes a few seconds longer to come out of the fort than if you're training 5 regular sepoys. So if you send the card first, you can go back to your town, maybe do a bit of eco management for a few seconds, and then queue up the sepoys from the fort, and hopefully they'll both kind of come out at the same time. But if you start training sepoys from your fort immediately and then ship the card, it gets a little bit awkward as the card arrives about 5 seconds slower. So the other benefit of this is that it gives you ever so slightly longer to gather up resources for your 5 sepoys, and I can't begin to tell you enough how many games that's kind of saved me just scraping out enough resources to get that 12 sepoy. Rushes that should have been 11 sepoys, luckily I had that 12 sepoy to help me out. Of course, this game I had to make do with 10 sepoys only because of that silly bug. So I did get 2 musketeers there, but what I'm really looking for right now is villager kills. He's just called out Minutemen, so that kind of signals that I've got to get out of here. But what he does is really nice. You'll see in just a second his explorer comes in for the snare, and he also ships 6 longbow to the tower. So he completely destroys my rush here, and at the moment I'm just frantically trying to stop all my sepoys getting snared. So I'm trying to grab a bunch of them to get away, and I only get 3 of them away, unfortunately. I probably could have got a bit more. Luckily for me, I do get 1 single villager. It's not enough, but it does make me feel slightly better about losing so many sepoys there. So that wasn't great, and I'm a tiny bit behind. But I mean, I did get 1 villager kill. I killed a few units. And luckily this isn't an all-in strategy. If I had been doing a 10-10 rush, I would have needed to have got a lot more damage than that, and this game probably would have been over. But luckily I had the market up. I've got quite a few market techs, and as you can see I'm actually researching a bunch more. So we got imperial bureaucracy on the way, which is actually a really expensive tech, but that improves gathering from all resources by 10%. So my economy is actually getting right back in there. Another thing to point out, other than my obviously bad herding there on my second hunt, is that I did force a 6 longbow shipment, which he used to hold the push quite well, but by forcing him to send that, I've also done a bit of economic damage there, as that could have been for maybe a 5 villagers shipment or a 600 wood shipment. So I kind of indirectly damaged his economy just by forcing him to ship a military unit shipment. So right now I'm kind of just poking back in. Oh, that was a nice scout. He walked all his army over my dead elephant, so I know I need to get out of there. But what I was trying to do there is just see if there were any loose villagers towards the north of his town centre that maybe he'd forgotten about that I could just pick off. But obviously H2O is quite a good player, and he's had all his villagers accounted for. My 4th shipment's almost in, which is the 300 export, which should be timed fairly nicely there with my consulate, which is, yep, it's almost done. I didn't get to mention my 3rd shipment actually, which was foreign logging, so that's the big wood trickle. It's probably worth about just over 4 villages, so that's kind of another boost to my economy. And actually, I think for a short moment I was even ahead in economy just because I'd forced those 6 longbows and I'd shipped the big wood trickle behind my push. So I choose to ally with the Ottoman consulate, which is probably my favourite choice because you get a nice line of sight bonus, which is really helpful for defending raids and just positioning just before fights and just scouting in general. But as soon as it's done, I start the village attack, so cost 300 export, and you can send 4 more villagers. So having sent that after foreign logging, you can see even though my push really didn't get much damage done, I'm not in a bad shape at all. At this point, I've also got a caravanserai up, so I'm able to train camels, and I'm also, at the moment, training Gurkhas from my Agra fort, so I'm kind of aiming just to get a bit more of a better balanced unit composition that can kind of take on any army that he throws at me. So I'm going to try and poke in again, and here we can see 2 lovely tempting villagers, and also 2 of my villagers. Unfortunately, I believe I lose both those 2 villagers. I mean, he does lose his 2 villagers, but I think I'm feeling that this is quite a bad position for me, so I don't actually know why I send my infantry army further into his base, maybe to try and provoke some kind of reaction, but I realise now, so I'm trying to bring them back out, and I realised pretty quickly that there's a big fight coming up, so I immediately, you can see Minutemen are coming right out at the moment. I'm going to try and delay this fight for as long as possible, as I believe he's got the slightly stronger army. My Sours at the moment, they don't really have any cards on them, they're pretty weak, and most of his army is musketeers, so I think I might actually lose this fight. Trying to micro the Gurkhas onto the musketeers right now. The Sour onto the 1 longbow, which actually I hit a musketeer. Here come the hero Minutemen. Which I'm hoping swing the tide of this fight. There's 4 Zambraks, which could have been really useful, but I wasn't quick enough to pick them up, so they actually stay next to my stables idle for quite some time, unfortunately. And this breaks my heart. When I see those 5 Hussars coming in, I'm feeling really bad about this. My 4 Sours from the shipment come in, but they're nowhere near as strong as the 5 Hussars. You can see 2 of my villagers as well. There's just a complete mess going on here. Unfortunately, my coin mine chose the worst time to run out, which was in the middle of that fight. I'm also banking about 700, 800 wood. My macro's all over the place. I'm desperately shipping 600 coin here, as I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to gather any coin safely, as the next coin mine's kind of out in the middle of the map, and he's kind of got the bigger army at the moment, so if he recognises that, I could totally be out of coin. This was kind of a point where I thought, maybe I've actually lost this game. I'm not sure what I can stabilize. He's got quite a large number of hussars in my town center, or next to my town center. He's kind of heading over there to my second hunt. I don't know if he's kind of got it scouted or not, but I moved my villagers away just in case. Luckily for me though, he does leave, and that's probably because the Agra fort was still firing and there was a bit of town centre fire going, and for all he knows I'm just about to pop out maybe 5 more sepoys and 5 Sours, which I wasn't, but he can't know that for sure, so he's playing it safe. He knows he's done a lot of damage, he's backing up, so it's kind of a sensible decision for him. So at the moment I'm trying to restabilize my economy. Basically I need a lot more villagers on food, so normally you don't want to use berries, but I don't really have much of a military presence out on the map, so that's kind of the only safe food resource I have at the moment. During that action I somehow managed to get up a dock, so my plan is to supplement my slightly damaged economy with fishing boats. For some reason I have a galleon in queue. I believe that was a hotkey mistake, which I do happen to realise just before it finishes. And so there you can see that I quickly had a look at the state of his fish. because if you click on it, you can see if the fish still has 500 food or if it's been gathered down slightly. And I noticed that it was on about 400 or 300 or something. So that means that basically he's sent schooners and he's also on the water himself, and so he's going to be he's doing a fish boom. And what that lets me know is that we're going to take the fight to the water basically. So you can see I'm shipping 2 caravels now. I know I can't let his fish boom go unchecked basically. Also, I'm floating a lot of resources at the moment. I think that's partly due to the 600 coin which I just sent you. You can see I've got a lot of coin, but hopefully I've got a lot more villages on food at the moment, so that situation should sort itself out in the next couple of minutes. I also put down a second dock as the water is clearly going to become a big feature in this game, so the more docks the better really. So at the moment he's still got the upper hand really. I need to kind of keep making army in case he makes a push of his own. I kind of want to go up to fortress, but I can't really risk it as he's definitely got more army at the moment. I can't really push myself, so it feels to me like I'm stuck in a situation where I have to keep making army. But I do send out my camels. I got a few Zambruks there, a few Sours, just kind of on a mission to see what we can scout really. Not quite sure what I was doing there, just looking at the sea. But anyways, my caravels are now on the move to see what damage they can get done, maybe kill a few fishing ships, while at the same time my camel raid is making good progress to the north of the map, which they happen to find a Hussar, so obviously H2O kind of had the same idea in mind. He thought both of us are not really sure what's going on, so we're just trying to scout each other out right now. Yeah, I'm pretty relieved that I'm actually not seeing fishing ships right now, which means that I caught his fish boom in its infancy. If I'd been seeing fishing ships already, that would mean that he'd been fish booming for quite a while and I was in a bad situation. But here we go, I find some fishing ships and I use the boat's special ability, which straight away takes down 2 of the fishing ships. So that's really nice for me. My own fishing ship boom is picking up as well. I've got 2 fishing ships from 2 docks training. Oh, there we go. I get a 3rd fishing ship as well, which is quite nice. And I'm just kind of hunting his fishing ships down back to wherever they came from. So they made it back to the dock, and I can't really kill anymore right now, so I send my fishing ships back a bit. I've got warship combat on the way, so that upgrades warship hit points and attack both by 25%. So, because I figure the fight is really going to start happening on the water now, so I really want to have some strong warships. You may notice as well that I haven't actually sent schooners, but I'm still training fish. Well, or the Asian equivalent of schooners, which sends a dock wagon and reduces the cost of fishing ships to 70 wood. So at the moment, all my fishing ships still cost 100 wood, and India is probably the only civilization which you can get away with building 100 wood fishing ships, and that's just because India has the best wood income of any civilization. For some reason, I've got another galleon in queue. That must be another hotkey bug, which I'm gonna check out after I finish recording this commentating, because that's strange for it to happen twice in one game. Anyway, I'm trying to sync up my land attack with my warships along the coast, see if we can get any damage done. But he's kind of got his own caravels out by now. So I see that's not really going to get too much done, so I'm just backing out here. It feels like we're at a little bit of a stalemate right now, as I don't think either one of us can really push into each other, on the land at least, as we both got pretty strong armies and we'd have nice defensive positions. And so kind of in hindsight, I think this would have been a good opportunity for either of us, honestly, to go up to the fortress age. But as it turns out, we both kind of sit here massing fishing ships and continuing to mass armies and just kind of moving them around the map, trying to gain positions. And oh, here we go. I wasn't paying attention enough. He gets a nice shot off of my caravel, but I pull the injured one back, keep the full HP one to kind of protect it there. So I do save it, and even though it's low HP, I can send it back to the dock and heal up right back to full health. I'm finally getting around to researching the fishing ship upgrade, so my fishing ships gather a bit faster. Probably could have got that a lot earlier, but there was quite a bit going on. And actually now, I think I do start gathering to try and get up to the fortress age. As you can see, I've got no units in queue either at my Caravanesi or at the Agra fort, so that's kind of my intention, which I do believe gets ruined as H2O starts to make a push at some point and I have to rapidly queue up units again. My Marathon Catamaran happens to scout one of his caravels coming in from the top. It's the Catamaran is probably one of the worst. Wow, I wouldn't even call it a warship, to be honest. It's so bad, but it does do a little bit of a job. Gives me a heads up on one of his warships coming in from the top, but at the same time he's pushing with 2 warships down at the bottom. I think he gets a number of my fishing ships actually. I do try and move them away, but the fishing ships aren't too fast. And yeah, he's pushing out. Well, I'm pushing out as well. Actually, I think we kind of both had the same idea that there's a lot of action basically going on in the water, so it'd be a good time to kind of poke on the land as well and see what's going down. I think at this point he's at max population, so he kind of has to push out because he's just got so many fishing ships and so many villagers. I keep retreating here. I don't really want to take the fight too close to his base, so I'm just kind of kiting back till I feel in a more comfortable position away from the trees, as I've kind of got a lot of cavalry. Well, he does as well, but yeah, so you can see there's this clearing where there's no trees, so I think we kind of both agree it's a nice place to take a fight. So this is probably the most crucial fight in the game actually, and you can kind of see this is where India's late game H2 really outshines British, as I've got a 4 unit composition. I've got the Zambruks at the back, which is a ranged dragoon type unit that counters cavalry, and you can see all his hussars melted so fast, and he's kind of got no anti-cav there left. And so at the moment I'm just kind of doing other things because I know I've just steamrolled the fight, so I can kind of leave my units to attack move. He's got a lot of reinforcements joining the fight right now, but as you can see my army's kind of holding strong. I've got a good force there. I've even got the Ottoman Minutemen. You can see them just on the front line. I don't quite know when I called them, but obviously they arrived just in time. I'm a little surprised that fight was it went so convincingly in my favour. As you can see, camel attack is just coming in right now. If you can imagine if I'd had that during the fight, that would have helped out even more. So my camels have been pretty much unupgraded, but the fight still went really well. I'm just trying to catch all his reinforcements coming in here. He sends in a few extra hussar, which is a slight mistake from him. But I'm keeping up the sea presence as well. There's still quite a few fights going on in the sea, so that's probably one of the ways I could still lose, is if he takes over the sea completely. So I'm trying to keep up my caravel production. I got 600 wood coming in as well. Well, actually I've already got a lot of wood, but it should mean that I'm able to fund my fights on the sea pretty well. On reflection, I probably should have charged straight in here. He kind of only had 10 longbow. But for some reason I was a bit hesitant. I guess I didn't want to accidentally kind of get trapped behind his walls, and I wasn't quite sure how many reinforcements he could pull out, and I didn't want to be the guy that kind of threw away his advantage by just charging straight in. But at the same time, I haven't really damaged his economy, and I've got the military uphand, so I need to make some use of my army, and so that's why I think I probably should have gone in right there. But that kind of thought is in my mind, so I know I need to make something happen with my army, because I've got an advantage with the army, and I need to translate that into wrecking his economy basically, which so far is fairly untouched. I mean, some of his fishing ships have been taken down, but so have some of my fishing ships been taken down, and it's been pretty even trading on the sea, so I need to kind of damage his land economy. So I'm going around the left hand side to try and do what I should have done straight away, which was charge in, but maybe I can kind of get the same thing done about a minute later anyway. So at the moment I'm just trying to find a good angle of attack really, which due to all his walling is actually pretty tricky. And here's another one of these small skirmishes which have been going on for quite a while now on the sea, where I think I get one of his caravels and he possibly gets one of mine. I don't remember because I don't think I had a look, but I think he trapped it with his fishing ships. I might be wrong on that. Anyways, the fact that my caravels have kind of distracted his caravels a bit on the right there allows me to push in from the left, as this push would normally have been a bit risky if he'd had 4 caravels kind of sat on the shore with offshore support just ravaging my army as it comes in. But luckily all his caravels were on the right dealing with mine. So his longbow, you can see them here, they're frantically running to safety. He's got no anti-cavalry at the moment, and here comes one of his caravels to try and save the day, but he does lose about 10-15 longbows for that, which is another huge pickup for me. So because he does have the offshore support card sent, I don't want to stick around too long next to his caravels and lose my army. So I head up north here, and this is what I wanted to find. This is lovely. Like, there's about 30 of his villages here, and I take down a whole number of them. So this puts me in an almost unlosable position about now, as I've managed to convert my military advantage into also an economic one, which if I hadn't managed to do in the next few minutes, perhaps he could have stabilized, but there he's lost probably too many villages now for him to make that happen. He's also completely out of coin mines, so probably the only coin income he's going to have is a few whales in the sea, which hopefully. Oh, and you look how many villages there are. Even more going to go down. There's 10 longbow as well, which are kind of caught out of position. Yeah, so he's resorting to fighting with the villagers here. They're kind of in hand combat there with my sowers. And perhaps what I didn't realize is you can kind of see I'm kind of doing a bit of eco management. Is that my anti-cavalry is dwindling quite a lot, which is a potential risk that I didn't really realize at the time, as most of my force that you can see now is Gurkhas. And then so I suddenly realize now as these 5 hussars starts charging in, I realize I've only got Gurkhas. And for a brief second I think, oh no, am I going to lose my entire army here? But I think I've just got, there's a few sepoys in the back, there's a couple of low health sowers kind of on the front lines, and it's just enough to hold. But if he'd had a few more hussars come in, that could have been really a risky spot for me. These walls as well are playing complete havoc with my reinforcements, as yeah, you can see them kind of streaming across the map. Now a lot of them went down to the south, and I'd had to regroup them to bring them up back to the north here, as I'm desperately trying to get some anti-cavalry here, as I don't know when his next batch of hussars could be arriving. But at the same time he's still losing even more villages, and he's already lost so many. He must have lost about maybe 40 villages by now, so he's in a really bad way. So another issue that's kind of been hampering my reinforcements, which you probably haven't seen too much, is that I built my second stables really far away from my first ones, which has kind of made it a bit hard to control every time when my cavalry batch comes in. And I didn't mean to, but the point when I put my second stables down was actually during the first big fight, and that was when I was thinking of maybe going up to Fortress, and I kind of panicked and realised, oh, I need a lot more production, so I just put the stables down wherever I could, and it was kind of to the east of my Agra fort and in a completely different place to my first stables. And just as a recommendation, you should kind of, when you go to stables, you should always put them next to each other. It just saves so much APM in the long term, and you won't be losing any silly cavalry or camels anytime. Wow, those walls are still being so annoying. Kind of want to push in, but it's in the way a little bit. And yeah, he's making a push on the sea, so I pushed with my caravels just on the opposite side as well. Yeah, I do quickly realise the only way I could probably throw this game now is if I accidentally lost C, so I queue up 2 more caravels because I know he's pushing on the top there. So if I lose my docks, then I could potentially not be able to get back on the sea. So I'm urgently trying to build up more sea presence. At this point, I also start training Rajput, which you don't usually see them. They're not that common. And the reason I start training them now is there's two reasons. One, kind of just because of my resource distribution. I've got a lot of food, I've got a lot of wood, and not much coin, and they predominantly cost food. And the other reason is I'm hoping that it might anger H2O for the coming games, as you never like to kind of lose to weak units. Though I suppose kind of the game is already over, but you never know. It's always worth a try. So again, just trying to look for places to try and push in. I know I've got the eco advantage, I've got the military advantage. Maybe the only thing that's still contestable right now is the sea, so I try not to lose all my caravels there. I pull it back. You might see on the minimap I've got my other 3 caravels that were harassing all his fishing ships. They're now coming up to help protect my docks, as I absolutely do not want to lose those. Those camels were a bit over enthusiastic. It's probably fine to lose them there, but I pull them back just in case. I don't want to do anything silly at the moment. So one of the docks does go down, which is unfortunate, but my other caravels arrived just in time, so he's kind of forced back there on the water and now pushing in on the land to hopefully finish this game once and for all. And you can see he's building a little wall there up in desperation, as he hasn't got much anti-cav again. He's got longbows, which do really well behind a wall, but it doesn't get up in time, and you can see my army here just swarms in. Well, that's pretty much the end of this game. He resigns kind of in the next 10-15 seconds or so. I thought I played this one pretty well, and I kind of hope you enjoyed the commentary I did over it. Thanks for watching.